It is episode 106 of the Strip Poker Night at the Inventory podcast, and I am here, your host, SPNanon, and I am still alive. And I am here with my returning co-host, Nord, who is still not apprehended by law enforcement. And we are here with our returning guest as well, Lil David, who has still not collected his tip-off money. Nord, please introduce yourself. And don't explain the bit for anyone who hasn't seen episode 105.
I mean, I was craving McDonald's, if that's what you're hinting at. Hello, it's me. I'm back again. I'm still doing the things that I do. You cannot stop me.
We're going to talk about two of them this time. You're
Exactly.
two-thirds.
Exactly. You cannot stop me. I have too much momentum now. But no, it's good to be back again. We went quite a bit over time last episode talking about the first sleepover event.
This will be quick.
Should be. Hope to see more costumes for that in future, but you can watch the previous episode to hear our thoughts on all of the, 9 costumes that appeared there for the trial week.
Lil David, would you please like to reintroduce yourself as well, what you've worked on for this game?
Hello. I'm still Wario and Kyoko's out there. I'm still on my ball doing mostly pipeline crimes, but still here, still doing okay.
Let's see. Yes. So yeah, it was a big episode last time. We had a whole new event with all new costumes to cover. This is a pretty standard in comparison. We have a main roster character by Nord, big surprise, and a testing roster character by Nord, big surprise, and then another testing roster character. So 2 brand new characters to talk about this time. One of them even not made by Nord. So unless I don't think there's anything to shill, we can just get right into it. These 2 that Nord worked on, they're cozying up to each other, both in game and at the end of the alphabet, because this is Yusei Fudo from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. He made it. We talked about him not too long ago, around like August or so, and he has made it to the main roster. It's the card games on motorcycles guy. Still very, very stoic, very rational, even quiet in a way, but he definitely has his moments, his dramatic Yu-Gi-Oh! Flourishes. I will let you get right into it, Nord. What has changed since we spoke about him on testing? Where have you taken the character, and are you happy with where he is now that he's on main? And, where do you want to go with him in the future?
I am quite happy with how he is now that he's on main.
In fact, I remember you were you said you were rewatching the series. I think the dub, right?
No, I was watching it subbed because...
You're watching it subbed, okay. And you weren't finished with it back then.
Wasn't finished with it. The websites I've tried to use to watch it, but both of them went down, so I had to find a third site, and then my computer just didn't want to stream anything for a bit the last time I was going to watch. So who knows, maybe I got his personality entirely wrong. We'll just have to wait and see. But no, I did take care to do my research, even if I hadn't rewatched the whole series fresh in my mind. Some people may disagree with it, but I tend to write characters by feel, and just, if they have to bring up any facts from their source, I obviously fact check it as best I can. But I didn't feel like I had to rewatch all of 5D start to finish to make him. I know
he just made models of his rival and his girlfriend, right?
Well, first off, he's dating a motorcycle. No, I did make a model of Akiza and Jack, both of them his adversaries at certain points in time.
Are they?
Yeah.
I thought that was like his love interest.
It is his love interest. Listen, all I'm gonna say is there's an entire page on TV tropes about the male on male ship tease moments that you can read into if you watch it. But No, I made models of the two of them. Akiza was just for the fun of it, and then Jack had slightly more purpose. Both of them appear in the face card art for his unique deck style you can get by playing his preset table now that he's on main. Both of these characters free for anyone who has watched Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds and fancies writing them. So if you're listening to this and considering getting into SPNatI development, send me a message. I explained the last time we talked about him a lot of why I chose him, I'm pretty sure. Since he's been on testing, there was a sort of low period where there was just straight up no feedback for him. It lasted about... It was more than a month since he had gotten any feedback at all. So I just was doing my own best efforts to bring him up to the standard I would be happy with. And then I openly asked people on the server, hey, would anybody be willing to give me some feedback before I take him to sponsorship? And a couple of people chipped in. The response was generally positive. One of my buddies, Saltmine, he pointed out that his posing felt a little stiff at points, so I did revise some of his poses to be a bit different from each other, mostly in terms of how he's standing. But in general, he's still a very, straightforward and stoic character, so he doesn't really do all these, dynamic shifting onto one leg poses like a lot of characters do. But with a certain amount of Yu-Gi-Oh! Flair, he does have a couple of poses where, for example, he's holding out his hand and there's massive amounts of foreshortening going on. And I was in a call the other day with David as he was playtesting Yusei, in fact, and I pointed out to him, no, Yu-Gi-Oh! Hands are just done that way. If they point at the camera or something, the hand turns massive. So
it's still very impressive. Okay.
So yeah, I'm keeping it that way.
Yeah, no, it's hysterical. Never change it.
So yeah, that's just generally a recap of what he was up to sponsorship, and then for sponsorship itself, he got 3 flawless sponsorships, and then that's all you need for if it's developers sponsoring you and you've already made a character yourself before, you only need 3. I did get a 4th one, but that one was nearly flawless as well. It was basically just asking me to do another follow-up target to Yuzuki, who we'll talk about later. But that about recaps his development steps now, so I'll pass it over to David. David, what did you think of Yusei? No pressure.
Yeah, so I very much enjoyed Yusei. He's very nice looking. He's well written. That's how it is. You've done a great job as usual, Nord. I especially like his body late in the game, and I almost didn't get to see it because he cleaned house for a while in the game that I played. But yeah, his body is very nice as well. It's in the Kisekai style, but also suits the way he looks in his upper layers, and it's very generally nice. I also like that you can see the dragon mark in pretty much any pose where you have the opportunity to show it, even when the arm is at the side, so it's barely visible there. It's nice.
Yeah, I tried my best to make sure it would always make sense, how much of it you would see.
Mm-hmm. You did a great job with that. A big highlight that I brought up at the time as well is how well done his posing is. Because Yusei doesn't emote very much at all. He barely emotes, and yet he still manages to feel really expressive, which is really cool to see.
You did touch on it. There has been an ongoing thing of me desperately trying to nerf his AI to make it more, make it so that a player can at least consistently see his later stages, but still balancing the fact of canonically he's a genius duelist who never loses in the series. But yeah, he had a very high win rate for a while. Still not as high as Eiichi, who has 30% win rate or something like that. But Yusei's definitely 15 to 20% win rate, so he'll win quite frequently if you don't try, or if he has opponents with lower layer counts.
pretty normal. I think I tuned Kyoko to have about 15% win rate. If you wanted to, you could cheat by making it like dynamic and based on how many layers the player has versus the other AI opponents.
I
So it
tried.
consistently beats them, but not the player.
Maybe. I tried a different approach for dynamic AI where I made him worse if he was in the same stage for too long, but it usually wouldn't kick in fast enough. But if it kicked in any faster, he would start to look either like inconsistent or incompetent. So I'm fine with him as a card game anime protagonist generally being a bit harder to beat than normal, but hopefully in something like his preset table, he doesn't just dominate the entire game. Anything else you wanted to say?
I think that's it.
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed playing with him. I do think he still has some issues that I expressed back when he was on testing, mostly just feeling a little too stoic and straightforward. Again, maybe I'm just expecting an edge that wasn't even really in the source material to begin with. But for instance, he had targets to Yuzuki, and spoilers, she has a weird, creepy mouth that goes ear to ear, and with like fangs and shit. We're gonna talk about it later. But like she does the thing where she asks, do I still look pretty? And he's just like, yeah, don't worry about it. And she's like, really? You think, a young man still thinks I'm sexy? And he's like, absolutely. And he's just like, it's very, I don't know, it just felt like what a regular guy would say. A very put together, composed regular guy. It felt very rational and reasonable. And there wasn't enough of like, something, it's got to be like something only he could say. It didn't feel like there's enough of that. So nothing in the background really informing or giving flavor to something he was saying. So maybe that's just the way he is. He's learned a lot from living in the slums, and it's made him understanding of other people. But yeah, I think you could do a little bit more with that, and make him feel a little bit more unique. He just seems like a more serious, or he just seems like a regular guy.
The way he strikes me is kind of like a comically serious sort of idea. So
he's not always serious though. He does occasionally look kind of mischievous. Like, oh, what else can you do for me? Yeah, I mean, he's not like bad overall. And like in generic lines, I did see a little bit more like the extra lore that he was laying down, which was nice. Stuff like his racing team and all that. I think if you add a little bit more of that, then it's. I mean, normally I say make targets more detailed, but if he makes his generics detailed enough, I guess it can kind of swing the other way, and he can just address people in a very straightforward way. It's nice. I mean, he expresses himself very clearly, at least. And again, the art continues to impress. You really know what you're doing with this kind of thing, and impressive perspectives and all that. I still struggle with it, but you have continued to challenge yourself and to benefit from it. Last thing I'll say, I played with the helmet this time, although it's not really unique to that because it's just his first stage anyway, but some of his stripping animations, they're like, I wrote a Nagatoro-esque, where he kind of bounces with it real quick as he's taking it off. That visual, that little bounce, that seems almost too peppy for him. It seems to not really fit him. I intentionally did not do that with Maya and Jura because they seem like they would have more of like a slow fade between poses.
Yeah, Kyoko was the same for me. I decided she doesn't need to be that bouncy, just straightforward with it.
Kyoko seems like someone it would fit, but okay.
She does it a little bit, but I mean, I think for me the focus is, and this is probably just like because of what I like about the game, but like with her the focus is more just like on the process of her removing it, so I didn't feel the need to do that. But we're getting off topic.
Yeah, overall though, like still very good, still very polished and an impressive project. You know what you're doing. I just think you could continue to layer on a little bit more sauce.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate your comments. Part of my hope for when I'm like going through most of the series, something I want to try and explain is that I'm sort of writing him as the like original Japanese version of himself, but with the dubbed voice and some of the dubbed mannerisms and catchphrases. Like "Let's rev it up" is one that's a dub-ism, you know. Unlike someone like, you know, the poster of Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, Yugi himself, he doesn't talk at great length about the heart of the cards and the bonds of my friends. But something he does from this very start of the series is he talks about how like every card that exists is special to someone, and every deck means something to the person that made it. So I tried to sprinkle in a lot of dialogue into his hand generics where he talks about like different card strengths and weaknesses, or like the value of having an ace card. Some of that I had to actually tone down based on some feedback I got, but in general, I tried to make him a bit more game focused than a lot of characters, but to a point of more than just like, oh, he really wants to win. He's treating the game, he wants to have fun with it, but he's putting a focus on like how important individual cards can be, rather than putting a focus on just, oh man, I really don't want to lose, I'll get mad if I start losing.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like how for some games with some people, you know, like they might be playing to have fun, but the way that they have fun is by doing the best they can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the difference between goofing off, having fun, versus having fun by taking the game seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's not a sore loser or anything. I would hope comes across.
He didn't come across that way when I played.
Yeah.
Maybe that kind of thing's just lost on me. I've never played card games outside of just like normal cards. No trading cards, no Balatro, no nothing. Just
Game of the Year award nominee Balatro.
No.
Balatro mentioned?
Available now on Steam and mobile.
All right, well.
No, he just
don't scroll off of the YUs just yet. We're done. You're not showing Balatro. We got to keep moving.
Damn.
Don't scroll out of the YUs just yet. Don't drive off on your motorcycle playing card games, because we have I mean, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh's one thing, and here you're just going hog wild, man. Nord's just like, hey, what if I just make an OC? What if I just make a Halloween character who's not restricted to Halloween? That's who Yuzuki Yasuda is. You may wonder what she's from. She's from fucking nothing. She's from Japanese folklore. That's what she's from. She's a fucking yokai. She's a Kuchisake Onna, or also known as a mouth split woman, or slit mouth woman, as is written in her description. Kuchi means mouth. Sake means split. Onna means woman. And that's what she is. I will let Nord explain her actual backstory that he came up with. But yeah, so not a completely original idea, what is these days, right? You won't find any gifs of her on Tenor. It's more of an idea of like a woman with a curse who's like, she's got like the Jeff the Killer smile where it's split and all sharp toothed from ear to ear. And she goes into a trance at night, and she wanders around and shows you her mouth, and it's like, you want to know how I got these scars? Well, actually, she asks, do you think she's pretty? And you're supposed to like confuse her. I guess you're not supposed to say, oh, I want to bang your fat MILF Christmas cake body. You can't say that.
No, that would, with what I've gone with, that would work.
You can't say unzip stick.
Well, obviously you can't say that. You have to demonstrate. Okay, so
excuse me. You can't say yes, because then she slits your mouth like hers. That's unfortunate. Anyway, yeah, go ahead and explain what exactly you've done here. What possessed you?
Interesting question. Even I don't know what possesses me sometimes. Kuchisake Onna, basic. There's a lot of like onryo and yokai lore where it's basically say this specific thing or die or suffer a fate worse than death. This is one of them where if you are alone at night and a woman wearing a face mask approaches you and says, "Do you think I look pretty?" If you say yes, she'll lower the mask and reveal a ear-to-ear smile and say, "How about now?" the correct response is to say, "Hey, you look so," and then you can run away. Prior to that, if you run into the woman, you can also say, "Do you think I look pretty?" Or, "I'm sorry, but I have a prior engagement, I have to go." Here's a handy flowchart even, from, I believe, Wikipedia. So I was just captivated by the idea, like in the weeks leading up to Halloween, of making a Kuchisake Onna OC. It is loosely, her general design and vibe is based on some art I found. One of them, you can tell, was a heavy influence, but I did give her a slightly different design. I put my own spin on her. And in general, with Yuzuki, I tried to make her unlike any other character I've really made before and sort of tap into an underrated niche in the game, which is 31-year-old Onryo is here for a good time. Please be careful what you say about her mouth. There is an actual bit of backstory I wrote for her that I could just read here if you'd like.
Go for it.
A beautiful, just-turned-18 high school student had a crush on a classmate who already had a girlfriend. The girlfriend became jealous of the beautiful girl as the boyfriend kept eyeing her. Accusing her of being an adulterer, the girlfriend stabbed the pretty girl and cut up her face. The pretty girl was dead for a few hours, then got up and carried on with her day, her face fixed into a wide grin. When she ran into the girlfriend and her boyfriend, the boyfriend fainted, and the girlfriend begged for her life. The beautiful girl is now a Kuchisake Onna, and has been that way for over a decade. She doesn't remember what happened to the boy or his girlfriend.
And also now she works for the government.
Yes. I decided to give her
At a desk job.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different targetable things about her that's just a lot of different aspects of what makes her up as a character. One of them is that she works comedically mundane government job where she does data analytics and translation. She's a very something I do with a lot of my characters is I try to make them more mundane and grounded, even if they're from this incredibly whimsical or fantastical setting. In her case, the whimsical and fantastical setting being modern day Japan. But that's just the preamble about her. What do the two of you think? Starting with
first
David.
of all, are there any other choices you made or things you want to do with her?
I feel like I'll be giving her plenty of costumes. I have some ideas. I actually got some art done by a friend of mine. May need a little bit of censorship for YouTube if it goes in the video, but I would love to give her this, robe as part of a sleepover outfit, and maybe even a yukata for. I guess it might fit for Easter or maybe for Halloween if it has blood look to it. In general, she's already at 800 odd lines, and she's getting plenty of targets. People are starting to target her mouth reveal because obviously, if you have a Kuchisake Onna, okay, so in general, for SPNatI design philosophy when making a character, if your character says, "Oh, I can use magic," they should have at least one pose where they use magic, right? If a character is a Kuchisake Onna, then she's got to take off her face mask. I'm excited to see people targeting that. It's obviously a difficult thing to respond to because I do have to sort of limit how people can respond of okay, if you want them to have a negative reaction, try to spin it in a comedic way so that we can play it off as it confused her or she got enraged momentarily but snapped out of it.
Yeah, it's a difficult task to police people's targets.
Yeah.
To do this kind of thing. Because you can't actually have her violently murder people.
Oh yeah. On that note, something I realized was a bad idea early on, within the first 100 lines of, or not even before I'd even started writing her, I was writing up a like design document for her and was like, okay, so she has scissors, and wait, why would she bring scissors with her? That's a terrible idea. She would know it's a terrible idea. So she doesn't have any sharp implements with her. Because obviously that's asking for trouble. She knows she's going to be revealing that she's a Kushisaki Onna. She knows there's a risk of her going into an enraged state, so she would take the precaution and just not bring that with her. So that's just like me being very careful with the just top-down design of her, I suppose.
Well, Lil David, you can go ahead and give your thoughts now.
Well, you were talking about their top-down design. I will say that top-down design is very well done. I was expecting, knowing what I know about her, I was expecting to get pretty freaked out playing with her, but I wound up not really having that. I think it was the combination of like her just having that hilariously mundane job, and then the way she just casually talks about her mouth as if it's like not even really a problem. It was enough to make me forget about it. And so, very well done with that. I was really expecting to be put off really badly. So yeah, with that, I appreciate what you've done. She looks nice. She has good dialogue. I like how grounded she is, I guess. In fact, not knowing previously, I wasn't really sure what to make of the brief crazy look she had, but knowing that, even that doesn't bug me that badly. Other than that, I like that. Yeah, I like her a fair bit.
Yeah. I tried to go for more of a, like creepy cute angle rather than a full-on creepy angle.
The creepy cute angle worked out, I think.
I think she's the only SPNatI character with a detailed uvula.
I mean, she'd have to, right?
Is that mouth all like drawn or face marks or what?
The mouth is done with face marks. With new Kisake technology, you're able to bind face marks to the lips. What I did was I took the I basically built her lower jaw out of face marks, and then that are just bound to the head, and then the upper mouth is all face marks that are bound to the actual mouth object in Kisake. So I'm able to move it up and down, or shorten it or stretching it based on what her expression should be. So it's a surprisingly versatile mouth for me to use. And it was a pretty fun challenge getting it working. But once I had I guess you could call it a tech demo of it working, it was a lot of fun to realize, oh yeah, she's viable to pose easily. And that's a big thing for me and Kisake models, is how easy is it to pose it.
Yeah, it's impressive that it actually moves around, and I want to make a mention of this as well because we haven't yet. The warning that pops up when you pick her, mostly done for random sake. If she was randomly selected and people didn't read the description, of course you make it. It's good not to assume that people even read the description anyway. You'll get people who think Chihiro is a female.
I took inspiration from Sanako. If you pair her with Nagisa, it gives you a warning that Sanako's her mother in disguise. So with Yuzuki, I kept in mind, her description says, she's a Kushisaki Onna, she has a curse. Her selection portrait has her pulling down her mask to reveal the freaky mouth. But even then, I figured if someone does random fill and starts a game, this still might be off-putting enough that someone might not want to be surprised by it. So the first time you play her up until seeing her mouth reveal, it will pop up with this little warning box in game start, just to make it, crystal clear, here's what you're getting into.
I wouldn't want to be surprised by that, so that's good.
But even that, it's such a nice little artistic touch with the chibi Yuzuki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, overall, this just feels like such a showcase, right? Of you and how far you've come as a dev and an artist, and it's really impressive. This is this feels like a jam session on your part. Like, look at all the things I've learned, all the body detailing, for instance, because she very much, she's a Christmas cake. She's very much not a 5'3" Kisekai schoolgirl. She's got a bit of paunch, even though she's wearing like a pantyhose, and she's got like a big old bra, and like you really went all out with the boobs. Those are some massive mammaries. Not as big as Vanessa's, I don't think, but they're quite hefty and saggy.
Mm-hmm.
And you do a lot with them, right? There's custom hands for her working her mouth, and then also like cupping her boobs. There's just a ton going on here, and it's clear like there's a lot of stuff here that really appeals to you, and it's and it's well polished and it's well executed. And on the writing side as well, like there's a lot here where she's not just like a movie monster. There's a lot here that's just like you writing a Christmas cake. a 30-something Japanese woman, single, lonely, like working a mundane, soul-crushing job, and then also there's this horrible, like, I guess you could call it like a mental illness she has to deal with, and seeking validation. There's a lot here. Maybe some of it coming from personal experience on your end, someone who's nearing his 30s, as we know. Some of this does feel like it's coming from a personal place, thoughts you've had. Like there's stuff like, oh, pretty soon I'll have this curse longer than I haven't. Stuff like that, you know. Someone who's turning, going into their 30s, like, oh, I've been sad longer than I've been happy.
Yeah, I will say that I appreciate characters that are made to do that. That's where a lot of the dialogue work from Kyoko's sponsorship came from as well. Just kind of writing from the heart and seeing and like talking about my own experiences through here, kind of. And so I think it's really cool that Yuzuki does that too.
But despite the supernatural elements, and then even after they're revealed, she feels very natural. She's very natural sounding. There's impressive variety to her dialogue. There's some stuff about like body image and needing a date, and how she's insecure because she's very tall, even for a woman in general, let alone a Japanese woman. She just feels like she's coming from a very experienced writer. You know all the little buttons to push and like things for her to think about and when. I think I wrote down here, she asks you as a player like not to wait till the very end, as in like she doesn't want to. Oh wait, no, I know what I was saying here. It asks something of the player, even because you'd expect like the mouth reveal not to wait until the very end, or for it to do so. You'd expect her to put it off as long as possible, but she doesn't. You kind of have to deal with it. You want those fat titties. Well, you're gonna have to deal with her curse as well.
From a mechanical standpoint, I thought that would be the most hilarious part to put, like, combine the face reveal with the chest reveal, because it's like, do you think I look pretty? And characters like, damn, hey, good looking.
Yeah, just the generic lines. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
In the case of Leviathan, who cares about your face anymore? Everyone is just staring at your huge cow tits.
If you compliment on her body, does she kill you?
No.
Or slit your mouth or anything?
It's specific, like, this is a lot of like me having a generous interpretation of the folklore. I went with, as long as you don't like say your mouth looks ugly or your face looks ugly, or like call her ugly when her face is shown off, then you're fine.
Apparently you're not supposed to say yes either.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You're not supposed to say, yeah, you look pretty, otherwise she'll cut you up and make you look the same as her. But that's also why she left the scissors at home. One of the most validating things I got was from someone who's like intensely studying Japanese, saying that I nailed the Obasan archetype, which is pretty much what I was going for. That being like the...
Is that Obasan or Oba-san?
I don't know. The way it's sort of translated...
Probably Oba, that means aunt.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's like the single aunt archetype.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah,
I volunteered myself as another a Japanese tutor, advisor. Although Cinda does have better advice. She's more advanced than I am. But I gave some tips, yeah, and then she does slip into Japanese sometimes. And even then, like, for someone who I don't think you really have much knowledge of the language, there are some nice little ticks in there that you get. She has like some fun Japanese-ness like to her expressions, like when she's all sparkling with excitement, sort of a manga expression, or just the little speech patterns she does. She's like, "Oh, yes, yes," at the end of things, and slipping into Japanese at the very end. Of course, she also says "fuck" at the very end. That's fun.
Yeah, I really appreciated you and Cinda giving me that sort of feedback to help it feel even more authentic. I wasn't afraid, and as you said, with like her upbeat expression and her dread expression here, I wasn't afraid to give her more outlandish manga expressions when it calls for it.
Yeah, I said other things I wrote down. It's cool that her toothy mouth still moves. It's cool to see all the old poses that you got used to with the mask on, what they were actually looking like underneath. Let's see. It's a really effective climax when she because that is sort of the climax for her when she reveals it. Because like the shine is gone from her eyes completely, and there's like a bold effect on the speech. And then every so often she slips back into that later on in the game. But it's still pretty nice overall. Her forfeit was pretty quiet. She does a toy thing. It kind of fits her, even though I don't like toys all that much. She doesn't seem to engage all that much that late into it. Not feeling the inverted nips. Again, it's just not my thing. She has big, bombastic cow tits. I feel like her nipples should be similarly in my face. I don't care how withdrawn she is as a person. Inverted nips are like a disorder. Don't they hurt? I don't want her to be in pain any more than she already is. You should change that.
No.
Last thing. Should she have a mask on alt? For people who don't want to deal with that. Because, she isn't strictly a Halloween character, even though you added her during Halloween. So shouldn't you at least give people a chance to be like, I just want the Christmas cake. I just want the Obasan. Do I need to deal with this?
On the one hand, I get why people would want that. On the other hand, it sort of feels like...
Cop-out?
I'm trying to think of a point of comparison for this. It feels like a cop-out. It feels like... make, this magical character, but give them an alt costume where they don't use any magic at all whatsoever. Or make a Pokemon character where they never are allowed to talk about Pokemon ever. It's like, she is a Kuchisake Onna. She's an original character, so it is a lot of me doing just whatever I want. But at the same time, I feel like on that note, I feel like I don't want to make an alt where there is no face reveal. Not the least because that would absolutely break the people targeting her now. But just in general, I feel like it's sort of, you need to embrace all parts of her if you want to have her there. Yeah.
Kind of like it just kind of takes away from what makes her what she is.
Uh-huh. Imagine someone saying like, "Oh, I want Kyoko to have an alt where she stops being silly."
Not possible.
She does. It's called Kyoko Kirigiri.
Real.
Yeah, we can tell this is your OC, Nord. Okay, there's a lot of boob focus. Just look at that sweater. Look at those sweater puppies. It's very obvious, but you know what? On the OC, where it's just everything that you personally enjoy is just executed so well. So I think you've earned it after however many dozens of characters you've contributed to.
Yeah, I've made like...
You of all people have earned the right to an original character, and even then it has an inspiration.
Yeah, and I tried to, I made her for specific reasons.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Yeah, God damn it. People have pointed out, multiple people have referenced that there is a manga out there called, translated, Even If You Slit My Mouth, which is about a Kuchisake Onna who's, lost power in the modern world, and so she has to get into an arranged marriage with this guy who I think might be 16, who is able to conveniently like deal with spirits and stuff like that. So if I really wanted to, I could dig into a manga like that. But in doing my research for Yuzuki, I came across that and decided, no, I don't want to read that at all. I don't want it to influence how I make Yuzuki. And at the same time, I was obviously deciding, yeah, I want to make her like completely an OC. You could argue that like Yuno was an OC, but he was a character just with a very specific writing prompt, whereas with Yuzuki, it is very much just an open blank check for me to do whatever I want, which is sort of the power of OCs. But
you're carrying on the yokai tradition. They're all some ancient Japanese person's OC.
Yeah. Just in general with OCs, it is a thing of like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but you're still trying to make a character that has an audience. And so I think, based on the positive feedback I've gotten, I think she does have an audience here in this game. So yeah, I hope people continue to enjoy her. I'll probably give her, like, similar to, you know, my other characters, like Rose in particular, I think I'll give her one of everything. You know, at least one alt costume, at least one epilogue, plenty of banter in that.
Lil David, do you have any final comments on her?
Not really. I do think that I should look into seeing if I can use that mouth technology for Wario. Because there is that art update that I started like 2 years ago and never got around to implementing. So I could do it.
Well, her codes are in her pose matrix if you want to deconstruct it.
Mm-hmm.
How can I use this for Wario? That's something I ask myself.
How can I take this good thing that somebody else made and use it for my own nefarious purposes?
I like Yuzuki quite a lot. She's very cute, and I especially love what you did with her aura camera pose, where you see her as she should be without her curse. But of course, the curse is still floating next to her. And I also like this collectible pose where she spreads her butt. So anyway, moving on. We have the final character, finally, something Nord didn't make. Unless you're going to secretly tell me that you did all the posing or whatever. We have another character by Rahabim, 87, the Bite of 87. It is the Flash from the Tangent Comics alternate universe that everybody knows, that came out in the 90s or something, whatever. Apparently, as I understand, Western comics were doing some pretty whack things in the 90s. They were going all out. They were trying everything. And they said, what if the Flash was a valley girl in Beverly Hills and had actual light powers? So I guess she's not nearly as fast as the Flash. She's only light speed, because that's, you know, because light speed just isn't fast enough in comic books. But I mean, it's still pretty fast. So this is her. She was like I watched a little video about her and her backstory. Yeah, so she's kind of ditzy, but she's like superhero. She's got light powers. She's, like, apparently pretty strong. I mean, light is pretty strong and pretty fast. And like she was conceived on like a space station, and that makes her that gave her superpowers. And her mom's like a total like stage mom, like pimping her out from the moment she's born to like go on talk shows and shits and influence her media image. And then her dad is like part of a secret government outfit that's like kind of constantly trying to apprehend her and failing in humorous ways. Rahabim seems to have a type. Moski, another effort of his, is also a valley girl with kind of small boobs. But yeah, I mean, I thought she was a pretty entertaining character, but I'll let Lil David give his opinion first. What did you think? It's kind of an obscure pick, you know, definitely not what you'd expect from the Flash. And her folder name is just Flash, so she might give everyone the wrong idea when she first comes on. But
when I first played her, I had no idea what she actually was, and so I was really confused about all the light powers and such. I was like, man, this is a weird version of the Flash. And only
I'm not sure if I said, by the way, her actual name is Leah Nelson, even though her label in game is Flash. Everyone calls her Flash. They should probably change that. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. it wasn't until she takes off the leotard that I realized, oh, this isn't the Flash from DC Comics. This is some other Flash that's more like a Green Lantern sort of superhero. Some people in the call got onto me about, like, some people got onto me like, what kind of Flash do you know? But, like, I was, like, totally accepting that she was, like, she was a woman and not that she was a woman. Like, that was just kind of the alternative universe Flash. But yeah, well, no, she threw me for a loop.
Here's the funny thing: is she is from DC Comics. Just very quickly, a tangent here about her origin. She's from an alternative Earth, obviously. I think it was Earth 9 or something like that. Yeah, Earth 9. Later displaced to Earth 0 and takes the name Light Ray. I'm assuming here Earth 0 is like the prime continuity. And yeah, she has light-based powers, including photokinesis, speed, holograms, and energy manipulation. So just interesting, weird, like, side comic, but yeah, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, that aside though, I had a lot of fun with her. Her dialogue. I like the exaggerated Valley Girl accent and mannerisms was really silly. I like that. I also thought it was kind of interesting how quickly she kind of seemed to get flustered. Like she was starting to get flustered early on in the game. That threw me for a bit. That threw me a little, but I'm not bothered by it. I like her facial expressions. I like how exaggerated and expressive she is. Big fan of expressive characters, as you could probably guess. So yeah, she's very fun overall. Her model is simplistic. Should probably stand to take another look at the proportions and maybe add some details and things like that if you wanted. But doesn't make her any less fun. I like the. I also think it's very fun that she just doesn't have underwear and is just like, okay, screw it, let's just go with holograms instead. That was fun. And you can see through them too. Careful with that solitaire.
Well, apparently all of her clothes are holograms, so she just like doesn't realize she didn't make like underwear holograms, so she just like quickly puts up warning signs.
That tracks.
It's funny.
It is funny.
Any other comments?
So, oh yeah, I couldn't read my own note. She falls to the ground after a forfeit. That was funny. That's all.
That was also funny. Nord, enlighten us.
Just looking at her from the comic panel I have here versus how she looks in game, she does seem pretty like compared to other characters. She does seem pretty on the short side as well. Don't know if she should maybe be a little bit taller. The thing that stands out to me is the art. You mentioned it, David. The art feels a bit too simplistic. I remember with Wasp, he didn't really put any extra detail into her undress stages. The same is true here. I feel like the proportions are a bit off. The hair, I've maybe just been with Kisuke for too long. I can recognize the default hairstyle. Whereas, like, looking at her art from the comic books, her, like, bangs in particular have a different style when she's in her, like, super, state, where it's swept back rather than having those bangs over the front. I think it would be worth Rahabim putting more detail into her like later stages. The superhero costume itself and the like light based I think in the wardrobe it's called construct.
Yeah, construct.
The upper and lower constructs are fun details. It's funny having them be like very slightly see through as well. But dialogue-wise, it does a lot of good for her. Captures the like superstar Valley Girl vibe pretty well. Her forfeit is very, flashy. Haha. Her forfeit is one of the most. I don't want to say it's bad, but it's like unique because she obviously like floats in the air. She has a yellow aura around her, and she penetrates herself using another light construct.
This must compress terribly.
I can see the color banding on the transparency. Of course, it compressed terribly.
Yeah, and the glow as well.
Not Rahabeam's fault, but
yeah, forfeit is interesting. Not sure if I like it or if I'm just neutral on it. A lot of the poses feel very samey for it, which is a weird thing to say considering how her floating in the air and having the construct should make it more interesting, I would say. You could do what Rouge the Bat did this, where she's like turning herself upside down and stuff. I can also understand if he doesn't want to do that. Overall, though, I think she has a fair bit of potential. Oh yeah, I remember her finishing pose just outright would blind you.
oh yeah.
It's kind of funny how there's a shadow underneath her when she's literally emitting light.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that might be.
Gotta be thinking.
That's actually not really a problem. I don't think, because there's still the overhead light source. It doesn't go away. So even if she's emitting some light, there would still be some shadow from just where the overhead light doesn't also hit the ground.
All right, bitch.
Damn. Sorry for nerding out on you because I like lighting. Because I like seeing the way light behaves under multiple light sources.
Nord, anything else?
I don't think I have much more to say other than it is still early days for her. Yeah, she's only got 500 or so lines from what I remember. Yeah, just art needs another pass for her later stages in particular, and well, I guess it would need for all of her stages if it's changing the proportions actually. But apart from that, it's a solid foundation for a character. Definitely an unexpected pick. It's the sort of thing we live for with this game.
Mm-hmm.
She did come out of nowhere. Rahabeam kind of works by himself. And let me give my critique in light of who he is as a dev, because he's definitely more of the quick and dirty type. I mean, he's gotten help on art before with Wasp, and then later with Moski, although he did originally have his own model, which was a lot simpler. And then he got that donation from Nomlet. So here, yeah, this is definitely his own art. You can tell he's not as practiced as some of his collaborators have been in the past. So it is a lot simpler. And with regard to the line count, it's never going to be as robust. He doesn't really write it's super extended targets and keep up on conversations the way some other devs do. I mean, that's fine. You don't have to. The same way, like, you don't have to go crazy hard on the art if you don't want to. Regarding the model, I will say, like, I thought, like, Moski's original model was, like, okay enough just because she's such a unique-looking character that she stands out regardless. Here, I do think you do need to do a little bit more. You should remake this model. I don't think you have to go 1-to-1. You don't have to try to match the art style if you don't want to. You should get as good as you feel like. But I do think you should make her look a little bit more unique and recognizable. And do something like, oh, that's Flash. Like I think the problem is, without the costume, I think like a person, like a fan of the character even wouldn't really recognize her from this model. I think you need to do a little bit more with like getting the hair in the general shape, or doing something recognizable with her face, and at least her a lot leggier. Because otherwise it kind of seems like a cosplayer if she doesn't have any proportions that are anything like the original. She's got kind of like the modest bust line, which is fine, but like her legs should be a lot longer, even just from the comic panels you see here. She's a lot leggier, and that's something you should do. So you should at least change that. It doesn't have to be 1-to-1, but she should look a bit more unique and kind of recognizable in a way. And again, you can ask for advice on that. I do have to question if he has some kind of Valley Girl bimbo fetish. as I said before, because that's 2 in a row, and even Wasp was kind of like that. Again, no judgment. In fact, I think she's written pretty well in that regard. She didn't really have any targets, but her lines actually were pretty entertaining. Where she's not like a complete doofus, but that's more just because she's so competent because of her powers that she can kind of get away with being kind of dumb. She's like, oh, I forgot underwear. Whatever, I'll just magic some on. No big deal. She didn't make any puns about flashing me. It was a missed opportunity. Yeah. And she was very horny from the word go. She's very pushy with me getting naked. Her tongue was out, and there's like even from the very first stage, I don't know if you want to kind of ease into that. Like, it's fine for her to be a valley girl and kind of like flirty, but it does seem like she's just like slobbering over cock from the very first hand. So maybe you tone that down, save that for later.
I don't have record of the exact line, but I remember seeing that. I remember seeing it, and I was thinking that's the sort of thing that Kyoko would say after she's like down to her underwear at least.
Yeah. I already mentioned how you should probably change her label from Flash to Leah, so that's what people will call her. The light as clothes, the effects, the glowing. That was clever. It was a neat reference to the source material. I like her confidence. That was all really well done. So yeah, like despite like the art kind of makes this look like a shoddy project. And again, you don't have to go too crazy with improving it, just like the proportions and make her a little bit more unique. But she was pretty fun to play with. And again, I don't think he's going to go super robust with the writing, but what's there is entertaining, at least for a game or two. And if that's all he wants to go for, I think he's done a fine enough job in that regard. I mean, he gets a lot across about her, the Valley Girl stuff, her parents pressuring her, or like her mother at least. That's gotten across about how like, yeah, because you think she's going to say, oh, my mom wouldn't approve of this, but she's actually like, yeah, this is media publicity. She'd totally be into this. She'd give me a lifetime subscription or membership to this place. And that's funny. And the later censorship she does where you can like kind of see through it, that's also pretty funny. Regarding the forfeit, yeah, I mean, I think dildos and other toys are just lame in general. Especially bad is that, I don't know if this was an issue with just the dildo tab in Kizukai, or if it's like, if this was a mistake on his part, but like her vaginal opening is not actually open.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the lips are spread, but the opening has not been widened.
It's probably half and half because I know some of because I know that some of them in Kizukai do cut that corner and some don't.
So yeah, I can't really get over that. That don't look right. Fix that at least. I mean, I would just get rid of it in the first place. I would make it like can she like shine a spotlight either from her puss or on her puss, maybe get a little extra sweaty in there, it's really hot under these lights. It was a pretty fun effect though when she was about to come and the light kept intensifying. But then she like she just shone from her whole body. You think I was expecting like sunbeams to come from her pussy. That would have been funny. Instead, it's just normal wetness. And yeah, I mean, it's what I say with toys all the time. There just wasn't enough variety. It was always like the same amount of penetration, and she didn't move her legs or her levitation position all that much. I think it makes you feel like that's enough, like you don't have to do anything else with it, and you really do. So that's my advice. I had a lot of it, but overall, I did still enjoy her for what she was. Any final comments? That's going to do it for this episode otherwise.
Yeah, I liked what I saw. She's got a lot of room to grow. I hope to see her get even better.
Yeah, I don't think she needs like a lot of custom body details because fundamentally she is just a woman. But the proportions in particular and maybe changing the hairstyle would work wonders for the model. And then dialogue-wise, what's there is good, just needs a bit of fine-tuning.
Mm-hmm. I will say, we have like a chronic writer shortage, and so I super respect the grind of getting her written and allowing the art to be, whatever works, and allowing it to improve while she's on testing. I respect that grind.
Well, that's going to do it for episode 106. Thank you for coming on as always, Nord. And again, as I said last time, Lil David, really appreciate you coming on as guest. You had some really nice thoughts, and they were pretty well organized. So looking forward to having you back on in the future. I'm sure you will continue to producing stuff for this game, as we all do. Yeah, I mean, you said we're I mean, a lot of content for the game. We still have some more backed up even to talk about in future episodes. So not a dry spot, not a dry winter so far. I mean, you did say there was a bit of a writer shortage, but I mean, I don't really know what you're talking about. Like Maya and Jura are getting plenty of lines. Any final comments? That's going to do it for this episode. Otherwise.
Nor if you're trying to speak, your microphone sounds messed up.
You just mewed like a cat. No, man. Now you sound like a bird, like a helicopter.
It's not working.
How about now?
Oh,
Yeah.
You're back. Let's
Okay,
go.
you came back. You kind of sound like you're in a tunnel, but
Meow. Oh, my waveform is entirely messed up on Craig.
anything else you want to say? Let's hurry and finish this episode before it gets worse.